Good morning, YouTube. JT Serenity Farms prepping here, March 31st, 2021. A couple days ago, I posted a video about New York State implementing Excelsior Pass credentials beginning April 2nd for certain venues. The New York Rangers did it a month or so ago. Now, New York State is going to try and implement this. Well, statewide they will, but we'll see how that goes. Then just a couple days later, Pedo Joe's regime comes out and they're going to implement vaccine passports. They want to do it for interstate travel, so they say. But there's a caveat, a little catch to what the demon rats are going to do with vaccine passports. Okay, as we know, Democrats never take responsibility for anything that they do. There's always another reason, someone else to blame. They just had to do what they did for the children. In this case, what they're going to do with these passports is they're going to pass off the decision to be made to big business. Why would they do this? Okay, reason one, when it all goes south and the lawsuits get filed, which inevitably they will, I hope they're already being prepared. The current Castle Rock regime can state to the people that it wasn't me, it was big business. They started it. We had nothing to do with it. And they will try and relieve themselves of all liability, avoiding ethical, moral, legal, constitutional challenges to big government stepping in and mandating something that goes against my moral, ethical, religious, medical, or just plain, I don't want to do it and you ain't making me arguments. So, whenever you listen to the circle back talk about passports, pay very attention to the verbiage that she uses. Besides, and playing with her hair and stuttering and circling back to you, and let me check my notes on that one. Pay attention to the words that they use. More importantly, the ones that they're not using, and you'll see where this is going to go. But there are some patriots taking a stand, and I want to play a little clip from Newsmax with Governor DeSantis and a couple constitutional attorneys talking about the legality of all this.
You want the fox to guard the hen house? I mean, give me a break. I think this is something that has huge privacy implications. We are not going to have you provide proof of this just to be able to live your life normally. And I'm going to be taking some action in an executive function, emergency function here very shortly.
Now, the announcement comes after reports surfaced that President Biden would require people to prove they have been vaccinated against COVID-19 in order to gain access to some businesses, offices, or restaurants. This is a plan the White House has been pushing. Joining us now to talk more about this, constitutional law attorney and host of Just the Truth podcast, Jenna Ellis. She's also a former senior advisor to President Trump. And back with us again, constitutional law attorney and legal analyst Amir Benno. Amir, Jenna, great to see you both. So, Jenna, what's your take on this? Vaccine passports, are they legal under the Constitution?
Yeah, well, we have to analyze, of course, the difference between the federal government and the state government action, and whether it's the executive branch versus the legislative function, and all of those implications. So, in a nutshell, no, President Biden's administration cannot issue these vaccine passports for interstate travel. That's something that would be unconstitutional as an executive function. If we're talking about the legislature and Congress, that would also have implications on the fundamental right to travel and whether the government has a compelling interest, even if Congress wanted to do this through the legislature, or whether it's a state function. And if we're talking about the states, this is about whether or not the government, as a threshold question, can require you and basically coerce you to get a mandatory vaccine in order to prove that you have the right to travel. And so a fundamental right has to be exercised without any precondition. And so this would turn the right to travel basically into a mere privilege. And so for a lot of different reasons, the emergency powers of the executive function do not allow this kind of restriction on the fundamental right to travel.
It is an interesting breakdown, Amir, between state and federal powers, legislative powers, executive powers, etc. You know, there are also the fundamental issues here that come with forcing people to get vaccines. This has been an issue that the Supreme Court has dealt with before, but obviously, you know, we're talking about new technology. It's the 21st century here.
Yeah, well, requiring people to get a vaccine is, that's one issue. This issue is really, can you require people to show a certification that they got a vaccine in order to gain access to public places, in order to go into businesses, in order to eat at a restaurant, that sort of thing. And so it sort of moves the ball down the field to an area that just runs into all sorts of both constitutional and statutory problems. For instance, federally, we have the Americans with Disabilities Act, which says that you cannot treat somebody differently, you cannot discriminate against them for having some sort of perceived disability. The language is broad enough to encompass to somebody who does not have an immunity to a particular virus, say the coronavirus. And so this sort of proposal would seem to run afoul of the Americans with Disabilities Act, as well as many state and local municipal civil rights statutes that currently exist. It's rife with problems.
And real quick, Jenna, you know, I saw somebody just replied to your tweet on Twitter here. They say, you know, people are concerned about how this can be used as leverage and bullying against them. You know, you're not vaccinated, you can't come in here.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, of course, the danger. And as Amir just pointed out, I mean, there isn't any sort of exemption that the Biden administration is currently talking about people who maybe conscientiously object to the vaccine, who say, well, I've already had COVID, I have antibodies, or just don't want to take vaccines in general. And so this type of discrimination and this type of really coercion to not allow the right to travel or access to businesses, as Amir was just pointing out, that does run afoul of fundamental equal protection principles as well. So I don't see that this would ever merit a constitutional threshold of saying that this is something that would be constitutional. And we also know from a really early 1900s case of Jacobson versus Massachusetts, that case has been really manipulated in the media.
Yeah.
The problem with that case is that it wasn't about the government coercing a vaccine, it's whether or not a nominal penalty for not taking a vaccine was constitutional. And in that instance, the government said that it was, but now we're talking about denying access, we're denying that type of equal protection for some fundamental rights here. So I don't think the Biden administration wants to go down that road, and certainly this is going to be challenged if he ends up doing that.
Okay, so they're giving their legal opinions on the constitutionality of vaccine passports. What I want to add is Governor DeSantis, his executive order will ban vaccine passports for interstate travel, as well as an executive order preventing businesses in the state of Florida from requiring a vaccine passport to enter their establishment. Obviously, Governor DeSantis realizes Florida is a very populated state. There's more and more people moving there all the time. It is a very popular tourist destination from people from all other states. And if businesses are allowed to, unconstitutionally in my mind, I'm not a legal professional, I'm not giving out any legal or medical advice, but if businesses want to implement vaccination passports, I hope that all America Constitution-loving patriots stop going to those places and show them, no, we've had enough, we're not going to take it anymore. I hope this happens everywhere. When you hit these places in the pocketbook, that's when they finally do something. They don't do it because they care about us. We can break the agenda by standing up. All right, so there will be updates probably every other day on this. We need to see which way this is going to go because the Democrats have to get this implemented as soon as they can in order to have total control. So I will keep you posted as quick as I can when I get some good information on this. But for now, like, share, subscribe, comment, notification bell. JT, signing off.